This is video number 4 for Word Module 2 in the Shelly Cashman book on Microsoft Office 365. Our last video ended on page 2-42, proofreading and revising the research paper. We're going to go to the top of page 2-43, and we are going to use the Source Manager dialog box. So we want to go to the References tab. We're already there. And from there, we want to select the Manage Resources option. So click on that, and we'll get the Source Manager dialog box. And we want to select the source that we want to edit. So we've got several sources over here. Let's click on this one, and then let's click on the word Edit. And we want to delete the word "and" from the periodical title. And then click on OK. Yes. And I noticed that up here I have a typing error. This is not in the book, but let's click on that and choose Edit. And this is supposed to be the word publishing, not publishing. So I got to change the N to an H. Click on OK. And we're done now, so we can go ahead and close this. So that's how you can edit an existing citation. However, if we go back and look at the bibliography, we see that it still has the word "and" here, and it still has publishing misspelled up here. So changing it in the sources doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be updated here, but that's real easy to do. We can just go down here, we can right-click someplace in our bibliography and click on Update Citations in Bibliography. It should change the correction, the spelling of the word publishing, and it should delete the word "and." So let's go ahead and click on Update. And we lost the word "and" publishing is now spelled correctly, and everything is now updated. Now let's move to the top of page 2-45. We want to open the navigation pane. I'm not sure how useful the navigation pane is, but we'll go through it anyway. Click on View here and turn on the checkbox for navigation pane. And it'll show you kind of a high-level view of your document over here. The problem is you can't actually read it. You can just kind of see the structure of the document. And personally, I think it's more useful just to scroll through your document over here, but this is another option. So we want to click on, you can do headings. We don't have any headings here. You can click on Pages or Results. So let's click on Pages. It shows us the 3 pages we've got. We want to go to page 1, so click on page 1. It'll take us to page 1. And actually, there's a much easier way to do that. You can go to the top of your document just by typing Control-Home from the keyboard. Okay, so we're at the bottom of page 2-45 now, and we're going to close the navigation pane. And now we're on the top of page 2-46. What we want to do now is insert a new citation using a source that is already created out there. And we're going to insert this in the second paragraph. And we want to put it right after the word keyboard here. So let's click right after the word keyboard. They put it inside the period, so let's go between the D and the period. And then let's go to our References tab. And let's go to Insert Citation. And the one we want is Clark. It'll list all the ones we have here. We want this one, and it automatically puts that in. And again, notice if we move the mouse over it, the whole thing turns gray. So let's assume that you need to move a citation. Put this one in, and then we realize that we really should have put it down here after the word injuries. So we can select it. We've got 3 little dots over here. And if you click on the 3 little dots, you can click and drag the whole thing over here, and it'll insert it. And the only thing we need to do is see if we can delete that extra that space that got put in there. So I went to the left of it and hit the delete key, and now it looks the way it's supposed to look. It should match what you see on page 2-47. We're now at the bottom of page 2-47 in the section labeled To Find Text. So the Find feature is a really useful feature in Word, especially if you've got a long document. So what we want to do is we want to go back to the Home tab. From the Home tab, we want to click on Find over here and just choose Find. You could also do that just by clicking on the button and not clicking on the drop-down arrow. Let's go to the navigation field over here and type in what it is we want to find. And we're now going to move to the top of page 2-48. And the word we're looking for is auditory. Go ahead and type that in. After about a second, it will come back and it'll tell you that it found that in 2 different locations in your document, and it highlights them in yellow. We've also got 2 arrows here that will move you from one to the next. If I click on the down arrow, it should move you forward, and you'll see the one that's currently selected turns gray. And as long as I keep selecting on this, it'll keep cycling through. When I get to the bottom, it just goes back to the top and starts over again. Now, we don't want the word auditory. We decided we want to change that to the word listening. So let's go click on replace up here again on the home tab over in the editing section. So click on replace. It will have the word that we've already typed in the find what box, and we want to replace it with the word listening. If we choose replace, it'll replace the currently selected one, which would be the second occurrence up here. But we want to replace all of them. So we're going to click on replace all, and it should change. Okay, now if you're not at the top of the document when you start this, it'll tell you that it went to the end, and do you want to go back to search from the beginning? And yes, we do, so click on yes. And now both of them have been changed to the word listening. Go ahead, click on OK to close the dialog box, and click on close to close the remaining dialog box. And we have now gone to the bottom of page 2-49. In this section, we're going to take a look at using the thesaurus. We're at the top of page 2-50. It says scroll to the second paragraph in the document. So here's our first paragraph, and here's our second paragraph. And in that paragraph, we're looking for the word continual. So let's scroll through here, and here's the word continual. And if we right click on it, we can get a list of synonyms. So it'll give you some synonyms over here. If you decide you want one of those, all you have to do is click on it. The one we want is the word frequent, and it'll replace the word continual with frequent. So now we're at the bottom of page 2-50, and we're going to check spelling and grammar. So the first thing we want to do is go to the top of the document because we want to start at the top checking our spelling. The spelling check will start from wherever the cursor happens to be. So do Control Home. Hold the Control key down and press the Home key on your keyboard, and it will take us to the top of the document. Now we want to go to the Review tab. Spelling and grammar checks are under the Review tab, and we've got a button over here labeled Spelling and Grammar, so we're just going to click on that button. And on the right side over here, if it finds something that is not in the dictionary, it doesn't necessarily mean it's misspelled. It just means it's not in Word's dictionary. And this is a proper name. We know it is spelled correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to ignore all occurrences of that word in the document. It'll proceed to go through the rest of the document until it finds something that it thinks might be a spelling error. And the word hearing was misspelled deliberately on the top of page 2. So it gets flagged, and then at the bottom here, it gives you some suggestions for that. And usually what you want is here, not always. Sometimes what you'll have to do is actually go in and retype it yourself. But hearing is what we intended to have here, so go ahead and click on it, and it will replace it for you. We're now at the end of the document, so we can close this window over here on the right. Go ahead and click on the X. And we can also go back over here and close our navigation pane. And now we're back into the document. Now we're at the middle of page 2-52. Our author does not actually have us do anything with a custom dictionary, so we're going to skip that section at the bottom of page 2-52 and the top of page 2-53. So now we're on the top of page 2-53 to save and print the document, and we're going to save it again, clicking up here on the Save button. And it says, if requested by your instructor, go ahead and print your research paper, and we're going to skip over that. Okay, let's flip over to page 2-54. We're going to use Word to look up some information on the internet. We're going to use a feature called Smart Lookup. So we want to go to the words headphones or earbuds. So let's go to the top here and let's do a find. We can also do a Control F for find. And I want to look up headphones or, so there we go. Okay, so I'm going to close this window. I'm going to click here to keep the cursor at that location. I'm going to close the navigation pane over here. And I'm going to select headphones or earbuds. Then we're going to go to the References tab, and we're going to choose Smart Lookup from here. It's called Smart Lookup in the textbook, but on my version, it's labeled Search. So let's go ahead and click on Search. It will go out on the internet and it will try to look up some information for us on headphones or earbuds. So you can do this if you want to make sure you're using a term correctly. I'm not sure how useful this really is. It's not much more work to go out to your web browser and do a search there as well. So after you've read whatever you want to read over here, go ahead and close that window. Just click on the X in the upper right-hand corner here and it goes away. Okay, now we're at the top of page 2-55. We want to click the Researcher button on the References tab. It's right next to our previous button, the Search button. Click on that, and we're going to type in carpal tunnel syndrome. And hit Enter. So you get a list of relevant topics up here on the top. On the bottom, it gives you a bunch of sources. We've got books, we've got journals, we've got websites, or we can just click on all over here. It gives you, depending on the topic, it may give you kind of a long list. It looks like there's a lot of references out there on carpal tunnel syndrome. And if you click on the plus sign here, it will let you add that to your bibliography. We don't want to do that, so we're going to click on No Thanks. If we click on the link here, it will give us the option to go to that website and read the information there. We're not going to do that, so we're just going to hit the back arrow here and go back to where we were before. Okay, let's close that. Click on the X in the upper right-hand corner here. Now let's go to the top of page 2-56. We want to go to the Home tab, and we want to hide the formatting marks. Let's click on Hide here. Click View on the ribbon to display the View tab. So let's go to View here. I'm going to choose Multiple Pages. Click on Multiple Pages, and it will show us our document in a smaller format. And it can fit all three of them on the screen here, and they're actually still readable. If you don't care about being able to read it, but you just want to see the overall structure, look for pages that might have like one line on them and nothing else, then you can view this even smaller. So we can shrink this down. So you can get actually quite a few pages on here if you want to, if you've got kind of a long document using this multiple pages option. Okay, so let's turn multiple pages off. Let's go back to one page here, and let's go to page width, and now we're pretty much back where we were before. Okay, now let's go down to the bottom of page 2-56. We're going to change the read mode color. So we want to go to the read mode button on the status bar, and we want to click on the View tab up here. We've got some options for page color. If you choose none, basically you're choosing white. You can do sepia or inverse. He wants us to choose sepia. And when we're done, click on the print layout button down here and we'll return to our normal view. Since we're not in reading view anymore, the background goes back to white. Okay, that's a good point to stop. We'll pick up with the next video starting on the middle of page 2-57, working with comments in a document.